Good Monday morning. It's WKRK Radio in Murphy, North Carolina, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide we're at country.am. It is a Monday morning, therefore Sheriff Palmer joined us with all kinds of, he agreed to do 100% of the talking this morning and give me the morning off.
Good luck.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Sheriff?
I'm doing well. Let's have a good morning this morning.
Very good. Did you have a good weekend?
Did. Had a great weekend. My phone didn't ring much this weekend, and that was a good sign that things were going on within the county.
That is a good sign.
Oh, we did have a couple of breaking and enterings this weekend, like normal. We get those every so often, and we have investigators out as we speak working on some businesses, some things around that got broken into over the weekend. But we'll keep working away at those things and chipping away at that, see if we can figure out who done it. And I saw in your press release there you did on WKRK site, about Towns County, the press release they did down there. We actually assisted them with that and helped them write some search warrants and things from some local residents here. And they were arrested down in Towns County and found in possession of a lot of stolen property. And a lot of that property was out of Murphy and out of our county also, and not just our county, but other surrounding counties. So
the suspect was from Murphy and from Marble.
And from Marble.
There are two suspects there.
And they're still sorting through all that and still recovering property out of that. And I know some detectives were talking this morning before I left the sheriff's office about some other items that actually saw in a picture that the Towns County had released. They believed it was part of our items here out of some stolen property. So they're still plugging away at that and working at those things. And we may not can prevent everything from getting broken into in the county, but we can certainly go back and investigate it and try to get them put in jail for the ones that do it.
We often talk about how bad the drug problem here in our county is. How bad is the theft and robbery problem?
It's about the same. I mean, the problem, though, is, and this is what people have a hard time understanding, is that drugs kind of drive all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And people have said to me in the past, and do from time to time, say, well, you're doing a good job on looking at these drugs and trying to fight this drug problem. How about these breaking and enterings? How about the stuff getting stolen? What are you doing about that? And my philosophy on this and the point of view is that we are working on these things. We are tracking these stolen property down. We are putting people in jail for that. But it all stems from drugs. Mm-hmm. And so my philosophy is when you fight drugs, you fight all these other things along with that. But like I say, we do have to pay some special attention to when we have a house broke into. We do have to pay special attention on getting evidence from that, lifting fingerprints and collecting different types of evidence from those scenes so that we can connect those people to that. But more often than not, 99% of the time when you find these people, it's drug-related and they're breaking into things and stealing things to try to support a drug habit or a drug business.
Any certain, we were talking beforehand, certain things that are targeted as far as theft?
Well, you have all kind of, typically kind of tongue-in-cheek, I say this, but it's true. I tell people if it's not nailed down, somebody will steal it.
Right.
And that's typically true. A lot of things as far as electronics and things of that nature, they're kind of getting away from a little bit because technology changes so rapidly. Mm-hmm. You can have things today that's top-of-the-line state-of-art electronic, and 6 months down the road, it's not worth anything. So when they steal electronics, they have to turn those things over pretty rapidly, either going and pawn them in pawn shops or flea markets and things of that nature and having to sell them pretty rapidly. So a lot of times what we're seeing now is targeting things like weapons, like guns, different types of hunting equipment, stuff like that, And then, of course, if there's any cash or jewelry or precious metals laying around, they always grab that kind of stuff. So whatever you have at your home, just be sure and try to secure it and try to get it in safes or other places, where it's not easily accessible. And I know that's hard to do a lot of times, and even with my home, a lot of times I look around and I wonder, if anybody come in here, they could get stuff very quickly and very easily. But still, we try to, even in my own home, try to lock a lot of that stuff down and get it secured, where if somebody does come in, try to make it a little bit more difficult for them than it would be just grabbing something, walking out the door with it.
Is there any way folks can change the landscaping of their home to make it their home look less attractive?
Well, there's a couple things that homeowners need to do, and first of all is lighting. Mm-hmm. Be sure your area is well lit. A lot of times people put motion detectors on their porches and things of that nature, and those are always great floodlights where you can light up big areas. Some people have gotten, and if you want to pay the extra expense, that's great to do so, is get the street lights installed in their property or in their driveways where you have the the street light on a pole where it illuminates the entire area. Anywhere there's light, it kind of deters people from breaking in. The other thing is you can get camera systems relatively cheap now, and so just a good camera system that you can go to Walmart or some of these places to buy to put on your homes. They've got them now where it's getting pretty standard as far as they'll send the images to emails and to your cell phones and things of that nature, to where even if they break in your home and steal the equipment, that image is still stored somewhere else. And so you can still see who it is that broke in your home and things of that nature. So any kind of alarm systems, lighting, those kind of things are all great to have. And also remember that, when you're in your home and looking out of your windows of your home, if you got any tall shrubbery or bushes or anything in the way, be sure and trim those back to where you can see outside and see what's going on outside your home.
Talking about those images from cameras, once someone does break into a facility, we can actually share those online. And
right.
Do you have pretty good success?
We have great success at that. When we have pictures, especially clear pictures where we can see faces and things of that nature, when we post those things online, and WKRK has been great about helping get those things out there and getting it to the public. TV4 has also been great about doing that and getting that stuff out there. When we get that out to the public, generally we get a lot of responses from that. And not everything's public. Not everything you see is all that comes. We get a lot of private messaging, a lot of phone calls, things like that comes in from those pictures. So we've had great success in putting pictures on social media.
Very good. Oftentimes there is a person of interest once you see security camera
Right.
footage there. And since you guys can't be everywhere at every time,
Right.
sometimes it's good to have the community to help out.
And a lot of times, we get people that'll call in and say, I'm not 100% sure. I can't promise you that's this person, but they look an awful lot like so-and-so. And so when we get several calls that comes in and say they look a lot like so-and-so, that gives us a good idea of who we need to be looking at. Even though they can't positively identify them, that gives us a good place to start looking, maybe to track this person down, see if they have other things that may meet the description, like if you had a vehicle or something, if they own a vehicle that meets that vehicle description. And going to their house a lot of times, or going to places where they're staying, and being able just to look around and see if there's any property there. So even for people out there that sees these things, even if you're not sure who it is, but you think it might be somebody or it looks pretty close to somebody, that's still important to go ahead and call and let us know that, because if we get a lot of those calls, then we can substantiate there's something to it. The old saying is, where there's smoke, there's fire. We kind of apply to that. So if there's a lot of smoke around something, we want to go look and see where the fire is at.
Nothing else, you can go talk to that person and mark them off the list
Right.
if they're not if they don't fit the profile.
And that's it. If you go interview them and polygraph them and things of that nature, and they didn't do it, they're innocent. That's just another person you can mark off the list and say, okay, we've checked that lead, and it's going to somebody else.
Looking at the temperatures for middle of the week in the 30s. Whew.
Going to get cold.
I'm not ready for this cold weather. I'm already starting to wear my long
Right.
sleeves here. So
Yeah.
now, next time you see me, I'll probably be in a sweatshirt now.
Well, temperatures are falling, and for us in law enforcement, that is a good thing when temperatures fall. It a lot of people stay home at that point, don't get out and travel as much as they normally do. And so when you see temperatures like it's going to be this week in the mid to high 70s, and then temperatures in the low in the night in the 30s and 40s, a lot of times people get out during the day and do their business, and then when it gets darker and the sun goes down, they kind of go home and don't come back out. And so that's good for us. And it gives us time to get out and check those businesses, check out those places that's going on, and get some extra time devoted to that, when we're not having to run calls back to back, we can get out and check some of this other stuff.
Right. And so we have time change coming up. I think November 1st is the day that the clocks fall back. It seems later than it once. There was a law passed for, I think that was Bush that changed
Right.
the time. But that's coming up. So folks can look at their calendar for that.
Right.
What else do you want to talk about today?
Well, we just got a few things that we want to mention about different events and different things that's coming up. One thing I want to try to get up there and get publicized so people will know about this is we're having our Veterans Day celebration through the Sheriff's Office a little earlier than we normally had it in the past. We're doing it this coming Saturday, October 17th.
Okay.
At the firing range there at Marble at the Sheriff's Training Center. There where the pond is and people fish and stuff there. We're going to do it there on that side. And this is a Veterans Celebration Day. And we're going to start that at about 10 o'clock in the morning. and we will be doing a flag ceremony. We'll have some different people speaking. We'll have people from Veterans Administration there that'll be doing some speeches. We've invited this year for Colonel Howard Lovingood, the United States Marine Corps retired, to come and give a speech and talk to the veterans there this weekend. And so in addition to that, we'll have some different groups singing, we'll have food, we'll have different things for the veterans to get together and just fellowship with each other. And that's always a huge event. It's always a big event for the Sheriff's Office. And so we're going to continue that this year. It's just going to be a little bit earlier. We want to do it while it's still a little bit warm and not wait till in November when things cool off. So we want to do it in October.
Okay.
And
that's going to be from what time?
It's going to be from 10 o'clock to 2 p.m.
Okay.
And the opening ceremonies will start at 10 with the flag ceremonies, the national anthem prayer, things of that nature, and the speeches will be from 10 to 11, and then from 11 on to 2 is when we'll be having the singing and the food and all those kind of things.
Okay.
So if you're a veteran out there and you're listening or you know a veteran, please let them know about this. It's going to be on October 17th, this coming Saturday, starting at 10 o'clock at Marble at the Sheriff's Training Center there in Marble. So be sure and come up and take part in that. We've got some other things going on. Just a reminder is remember that also the 8th annual Toy for Tots motorcycle toy run is make sure. Yeah, it was yesterday. It was Sunday, and I didn't get to be a part of that. I had do service yesterday at Valleytown. I brought the message there yesterday, so I wasn't a part of that was going on. But they had the 8th annual Toys for Tots motorcycle toy run, and remember that will be on November 16th from December 11th. Will be the Toys for Tots registration, and that will be, of course, be distributing the toys on December 18th. There from 9 to 5 at the old Emerson building across the Murphy Medical Center there in Peachtree. So remember,
a fantastic organization.
It is, and they do a great job with that Toys for Tots. So the actual distribution will be December 18th, but on November 16th they will start taking registration for that, and of course you can donate, to that. Just contact John Evans. He's in charge of that. He's the local coordinator, and I'm going to go ahead and give you his phone number. It's 837-3035. or 361-8192. And I'll try to give that out again before we're done with the program. So if people don't have a pen, they can write that down. But that's John Evans. That's the local coordinator for the Toys for Tots program. And also one other thing that we have going on that we want to mention is that on Tuesday, November 10th at 2 p.m. at the downtown ballroom here in Murphy, the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, along with several local veterans groups, are going to honor Jack Rhodes for his years of military service and dedication to the Sheriff's Office. And he's worked with the Sheriff's Office for several years, and he's also a veteran, and that we're going to honor him there on Tuesday, November 10th at the ballroom. We'll have snacks and drinks, and different people will be speaking and stuff there. And it was, to my understanding, that Jack is the last survivor in Cherokee County that actually served in Iwo Jima in World War II. And so we want to honor him for his service there in World War II and all the service that he's done over the years with the Toys for Tots program and with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. So come on out and take part of that. And once again, that's November 10th at the ballroom there in Murphy. So come on out and take a part in that. And just several events that's coming up. Of course, Halloween's be coming up here in just a few days, and that's always a big event for Cherokee County. And just remember, for parents and kids to exercise safety and caution during Halloween. Always the typical things: inspect your candy, make sure that the kids are not getting hold of something that they shouldn't be getting hold of, and also for different safety measures as far as out trick-or-treating, watch for traffic, always stay with each other, don't wander off by yourself, things of that nature. Because I know, especially here in Murphy, like through Duke Street and those places, that's typical. It can get very hectic and a lot of people there. So especially if you got small kids, be sure and pay attention to where they're at, keep your hands on them, and keep them inside at all times.
I'm curious how Duke Street became the hub for Halloween in Murphy.
I don't know. It's just one of those things that just kind of progressed over the years, and every year it just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger. And there at Valley River Avenue and Duke Street and all that through there is
those houses see a lot of traffic on Halloween night.
They do.
Over 1,000 kids, I think.
Right. Murphy Police Department and the Sheriff's Office, we try to block those streets off for the kids and have a safe trick-or-treating environment for the kids. And so it's always a good time. If you've never been to Duke Street on Halloween or Valley River Avenue, bring your kids out this year, and you'll enjoy it. You'll see all the festivities and a lot of people there, a lot of candy to be handed out.
This year, Halloween's going to be on a Saturday.
It is.
So that's going to make it convenient for a lot of folks that don't have things going on in the week or on a Sunday. So,
right.
So it'll be a Saturday. So it should be a huge event this year. I just wonder how much how much candy they have to buy. I'm sure
I tell you, last year I handed out candy there at Valley River Avenue and Duke Street, and they're at the White House on the corner at Leo Phillips' residence. I sat up there on the street, and I think I had prepared like 700 bags or something like that, and I was out way before the kids kept coming through. So I'm going to have to prepare a little bit more this year.
Wow.
And try to get prepared for that. But I mean, we had literally a carload of candy there, and we were just ripping bags open as fast as we could open them with kids coming through. So. Like I say, it's a huge event. It's a lot of children come through there.
It's good that the law enforcement, they do block off the roads there, because that many kids wearing costumes, their vision may not be. Kids don't always pay attention.
Right.
I'm still a young kid myself, and I don't always pay attention to where I'm walking. So,
well, what I love about that Duke Street area at Halloween is the fact that you don't have to worry about cars coming through. Mm-hmm. That people can walk in the roadways and stop and have conversations and things of that nature while they're trick or treating with other parents, with each other, and things of that nature. Not have to worry about cars coming through and that whole safety there. So once you kind of get off of Hill Street there and going up Valley River Avenue and into Duke Street, you're relatively in a safe place. Mm-hmm. One thing that we're going to also do this year is, along with Murphy PD, is try to have officers patrolling that area on foot, to where if you do have issues, if you have problems, if you have things going on, that hopefully there'll be an officer nearby that you can get a hold of if you have any situations or any problems.
One safety thing to be mindful of is, what are plans, or what message do you want to give to registered sex offenders for Halloween night? I know there's always concern about trick-or-treaters going to sex offenders' homes.
Right. Typically, as you know, sex offenders can't be in any location where the known kids are. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a registered sex offender, they can't attend the festivities there on Duke Street. If they already live on Duke Street, if they have a residence there, then typically what needs to happen is they don't need to be offering candy and stuff for the kids, inviting them to come to their house. So it needs to be a place where, it's blocked off to where the kids can attend. One thing I do encourage parents to do, though, and I do encourage people, that when you're out trick-or-treating, it's very simple, very easy, very quick to check the National Sex Offender Registry database. You can go on that. You can actually set up perimeters, a mileage perimeter. So in other words, if you went to Duke Street, for example, you could pull that up on the internet and do within a mile radius of Duke Street. And it shows you if there's any sex offenders living within that area, or you can spread that on out to 5 miles or 10 miles or whatever you wanted to do. And so you can actually see where they're registered and where they're staying. Mm-hmm. So if you have concerns before you go, you can always check that out. And if there's a particular house or place on that street, or any street, not just there, but anywhere in the county that you want to trick or treat, then it shows you places. If you don't want your children to go there or be around, you can kind of avoid those spots. So be sure and check that National Sex Offender Registry, and there you can narrow it down to where you want to go and where you don't want to go.
Approximately how many registered sex offenders do we have living in our county right now?
I don't know. That fluctuates and changes. I wish Roger Williams was here. He could tell you right off the top of his head, because he takes he keeps track of all those people. Mm-hmm. He does the checks. He checks up on them, and actually, if he can't do it himself, he'll assign officers to go out and do locations on these people to make sure they are where they're registered to be. Mm-hmm. And I wish he was here. He could tell you right off the top of his head how many there were, but I just don't know. I don't know how many there are.
I knew he was pretty on top of that.
And like I say, those things do fluctuate, because you have people moving into the area,
right,
and it'll go up, and then you have people moving away from the area, and it'll go down. So it just fluctuates from back to forth on that. I do know that we have a high per capita here of registered sex offenders in and around Cherokee County. I do know that.
And I think we talked about this on one show prior to this. If a registered sex offender is homeless,
right,
then you basically need to know where that person is sleeping.
Yeah, we have those from time to time register, and they may even register at the sheriff's office. We have people from time to time that are without a home and without places to stay, and we have an area down on the far end away from the sheriff's office where sometimes we allow people to go and stay if they don't have a registered home or if they don't have anywhere to go and they don't have anywhere to register. If they're sleeping in the car, for an example, we may send them to a certain location down there away from the sheriff's office and away from different places, but their actual registration would be at the sheriff's office, or we can actually lay eyes on them and know where they're at. But if they are living under a bridge, if they are living in a tent, if they're living wherever they're physically located, they have to register that and report it to the sheriff's office as to where they are. And if that moves every week, they have to register every week. Wherever they move to and wherever they go to, they have to register that.
All right. How many days do they have to make a change in their registration once they do move?
It depends on the court system and what they've ordered them to do, but typically once they pack up from a place and move, they're to notify immediately where they're going to and where they're leaving from and where they're going to. So if I'm living under a bridge and I decide I'm going to move up the road 5 miles up to the road to another bridge, then when I pick up my stuff up and move, I'm to notify the sheriff's office that I'm moving from that spot and going to a different spot.
All right.
Yeah.
I see our time is starting to wind down. What else do you want to cover before we end our program for the day?
I just want to remind everybody, if you see suspicious activity or things going on out there, please sure and report that. From time to time, we get calls from people who say, well, I saw this happen or that happen, or I felt like my neighbor's up to something, but I didn't want to bother you with it. Because I don't know they've done anything. I don't know they committed a crime. It's just strange. But, I know y'all are busy, so no, I didn't want to report it. But I encourage people to go ahead and report those things. If you see strange events in your neighborhood, strange vehicles, strange activity, go ahead and report it, and let's get an officer assigned to it and find out what's going on out there. I would rather you report it and it turn out not to be anything as to neglect to report it, and it could be a major event going on in the neighborhood and we didn't know about it. So be sure and report anything suspicious that's going on out there. And I do want to just take a moment to thank the officers and thank the people at the sheriff's office for the hard work they're doing. I know that they spend countless hours on trying to protect our citizens and countless hours on trying to solve crimes and different things that are out there. And sometimes people get frustrated because they've got a drug house in their neighborhood or they've got something going on, and seemingly nothing ever happens with that. But, the thing I want to remind people is that it's physically impossible for us to go to every residence and every house and every drug dealer and every place in Cherokee County. And we're just having to do the best we can do with what we have. So we're fighting fires, we're going to the hot spots, and hopefully we'll eventually get to your problem, and we'll try to get there. But it's just physically impossible to handle everything that's going on with every report that we get in the county.
Your office has a lot to juggle.
There's a lot of things going on. And on top of that, and I met with the county manager last Friday and just kind of reminding people, on top of those things, people, when they think of the sheriff's office, they think of a patrol car and they think of the uniform. But what they tend to forget is, we've got the detention center, we've got involuntary commitments, we've got concealed handgun permits, we've got purchase permits, we've got precious metal registries, we've got pawn shops and pawn tickets. We've got all these different things that we're trying to keep control of and try to maintain within the county. And on top of that, we've got the court system to worry about. We've got to move prisoners back and forth. We have to do civil process and serve eviction papers and civil process notices all over the county. So there is a lot to do. There's a lot that our office does. And with the people that we have there, they do a great job at that. And they give it everything they have and give it all they have to try to serve the people of this county. And I'm appreciative of that and thankful for my employees that do that.
All right. Well, thank you, Sheriff. I know folks in the law enforcement business don't always get the thank you.
Right.
They do all the work and they get a lot of blame, but not a lot of people say thank you. So I appreciate you're taking time to do that, and I know they do as well, the staff.
Thank you, Tim. And I appreciate all the encouragement that I do get out there. When I go to different places, I do run into the occasional person that's upset with things for whatever reason, whether it was something that happened on a call or happened with them in particular, or whether it's that drug house that they don't think is getting taken care of. I do run into those people from time to time that have issues and complaints, but more often than not, I get way more people that compliment us and compliment on the things that they see and the things that's happening in the county. and are appreciative. And so I thank the people for that, and I thank them for taking the time just for some encouragement and just letting us know that they are appreciative of what's going on out there.
Your job goes around, usually when you're called, you're going into an emotional situation,
Right.
and usually that's not the most pleasant time to
Right.
visit with someone. So
It is.
good when people can take a step back and realize that your services are important.
Right. And another thing, too, I just want to mention this real quick, especially with our 911 center and with our detention center. A lot of times we get people that say, well, I called on there to talk, and they were real short with me, and they didn't explain themselves, and now I'm upset because they didn't take the time to talk to me. And one thing that I want to remind the people is this, especially with those two areas, is those people are extremely busy. They are extremely covered up. And sometimes it's not that they're being rude or they're trying to be rude with you. It's just they've got a lot going on, and they're needing to get off that phone, and they're needing to get back to doing what they're supposed to be doing. If you call the detention center, you never know. There could be somebody in the background fighting, and could be somebody that's assaulting an officer, things of that nature, and they're trying to get to where they can help somebody. The detention center, not only do they handle the law enforcement calls, but they also handle emergency calls, EMS, fire, and the phones ringing, people calling in on landline phones. And I think last year, detention center handled about, I think it was 88,000 calls they answered last year through the detention center. So people need to be understanding that when they call a dispatcher for whatever reason, that dispatcher may have 3 or 4 other calls they're trying to dispatch and things going on while they're on the phone with you. So just be patient with them and be understanding, that sometimes that even though they do care about you, even though they do care about your problem, that they do have other things going on, and sometimes emergencies take priority over things. So I just want to remind people of that, because sometimes we tend to forget those things. Right. But, barring those emergencies and those bad things that happen, we do want to be there for the public. We do want to be there and answer your questions and answer your calls. So if you run into a situation or a problem where you don't feel like that you're getting treated fairly, or you feel like that people were short with you, give it 30, 45 minutes, call back, and see if things are different then.
All right.
And maybe things have calmed down a little bit at that point.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sheriff, thank you very much.
All right. You have a great day.
You do the same. It is WKRK Radio in Murphy, North Carolina, 11:33 our time.